Steelcon was established in 1981 and has ever since been delivering steel chimney solutions, now worldwide. This film shows how an erection of a steel chimney can take place. The specific erection taking place is of a 95-meter high steel stack for a bioenergy plant in Moberg, Denmark. The stack has an outer shell diameter of 2,800 millimeters with 4 inner liners. Health and safety are our first priority at Steelcon. The lifting area is isolated by tape barriers to keep unauthorized people at a safe distance. Personnel involved in the installation wear appropriate personnel protection. When working at height, personnel wear and attach safety harnesses at all times. Steelcon erectors are especially trained in working at high levels and have the necessary certificates for entering sites worldwide and to handle and coordinate cranes and transport during the erection operation. The anchor basket has been sent to site in advance. The client has concreted the anchor basket according to Steelcon's instructions. The anchor basket's key red bolt has been placed in the correct orientation according to the approved drawings. Steelcon erectors remove the protection pipes and nuts for preparing the anchor basket. Steelcon, together with the crane and transport company, have prepared method statements, crane rigging studies and a time schedule for erection operations. Free access to the chimney foundation is required for the main crane and transport. A temporary storage area for chimney sections may be required near the chimney foundation. Normally a cherry picker or the tail crane with manned basket needs to be able to reach the uppermost flange connection of the stack. Steelcon erectors remove the upper template ring for preparing the anchor basket. A predetermined number of nuts are levelled and set at the nominal grout thickness. These nuts will be used to adjust the vertical alignment of the chimney. Section 1 is being transported in position for offloading. The lifting tackle of the main and tail crane are being hooked onto lifting lugs at the top and bottom of Section 1. The main crane begins hoisting Section 1. The tail crane slews the section base towards the section head until the section is vertical. When the section is vertical, the lifting tackle of the tail crane is released. The section is lowered to the ground and the transport frame fitting at the bottom of the section is removed. The main crane is hoisting Section 1 to the sufficient height in order to clear site obstructions before slewing towards the foundation. On completion of slewing towards the stack foundation, the main crane jibs out Section 1 over its foundation bolts. After checking for correct orientation, the section is lowered onto the foundation bolts and the anchor nuts secured. The section can be unhooked from the crane. A Steelcon erector gains access either in a man basket attached to the tail crane, or in a cherry picker, or from a safety ladder and scaffolding on the stack section. The accurate vertical position of the base section is secured by means of a theodolite, with adjustments made by using the nuts underneath the base plate. The anchor nuts are tightened. Stack section number 2 is driven into position for offloading. Hoisting of section 2 is done as section number 1. When required, due to section stiffness, a spreader beam is used. This ensures circularity of the chimney section is maintained and no vectorial loads are applied to the lifting points. The bolts between your transport fitting and the liners are removed before the fitting is released from the shell. The section is lowered to the ground and bolts between the transport and lifting fitting are removed. The main crane begins hoisting the section to release the section from the fitting. Stack section 2 is lifted and placed on top of the base section, ensuring its correct orientation by means of the match markings on both shell flanges. The gasket material is placed at liner connections. The gasket type varies depending on the design temperature. The liners are designed having stop ends with loose flanges that enable the erectors to fit the flanges together easily and tighten the flange bolts. The insulation of the liner connections is checked. If damaged during transport, it is repaired. A silicone gasket is placed on the internal and external surface of the flange connections of the chimney sections. The outer gasket must be placed so that the silicone will be pressed outside the edge of the flange when they are fully connected. The section is lowered down until the shell flanges touch each other. The flange bolts are tightened to the specified torque. The temporary access platform at the top of section 1 is dismantled and installed at the top of section 2. At the flange connection, the safety ladder connection has to be assembled with brackets. The erection procedure for section 3 is carried out as section 2. Section 4 is transported into the position for offloading. All sections are transported in specially made saddles, combined with or without transport fittings. The support method for transportation and storing of stacked sections is determined by the construction department together with the project department. Some parts, for example the top hand railing, may need to be removed before hoisting to avoid interference with the lifting gear. The lifting spreader beam is used to avoid lifting slings touching liner cones. Section 4 is prepared for erection according to the same procedure as the previously erected sections. The remaining parts need to be installed on the stack before hoisting the section to the final level. The procedure for erection of the top section is the same as for section 3. On completion, the erection area is cleaned. The final erection of the stack has been done. The checklist for the erection and the installation of the stack is carried out by our Steelcon erectors. The takeover certificate is signed by the client for handing over the stack. Steelcon, #1 in chimneys.